So I think the stuff that you mentioned, I'm trying to think of what to add to it. So you mentioned the wingback situation. Carvajal was definitely at the top of my list, and like his absence is underrated. Like we often talk about the Marcelo Mendy, the drop off from Mendy to Marcelo defensively. I think likewise, while Lucas Vasquez played good for 3.5 games, he didn't play good on the fourth. Not his fault, but for sure, like Carvajal's absence as not only as a strong defender, wing defender, a strong tracker, but also a strong leader. I think hurts. Varun also mentioned Varane, which we can't. It's hard to explain some of his lapses. They're not normal. Some of the stuff it can be just down to maybe confidence issues. Since that Manchester City game, I think he's had good moments. I think prior to that Manchester City game, he was quite good. It's weird how things flip, but I think they will flip again. And I think we'll see the better version of Varane soon, hopefully anyway. Ramos himself has made a couple individual errors, but he is obviously far from the biggest problem defensively. He's, in fact, one of the solutions. I think Mendy Marcelo was a big one. I don't see, and this goes back to the summer decisions, because if you're going to give Mendy some rest, well, you could have solved that in the summertime when you could have just put Reguilon in there, who's a strong individual defender. Other things, I think Casemiro has been less positionally disciplined this season. So a lot of the reasons why last season our defense was good was because Casemiro was stationed, and he's not in position. And some of the defensive sequences now remind you of 2 or 3 years ago, where Casemiro's in the box and nobody's covering for him. And on top of that, your wing backs are injured, or the ideal ones aren't starting. So all of that matters. And I mentioned this in my column yesterday, in that Real Madrid do this thing too often where their team is built for pressing offensively, defending higher up the pitch. They should be pressing higher, but they're not doing so. But they're keeping the high line anyway. I think it was Cruz or somebody who mentioned that they were defending a higher line. But the problem is when you defend a higher line without pressing and without tracking, you're just screwed. That's just the worst place to be in football. So that is another part of this, I think.
Yeah, the Mendy thing is huge. The Mendy Marcelo thing is huge, because I just think that Real Madrid have probably reached the point where Marcelo is quite clearly unplayable at this point. I think you'll have to consider that, okay, Mendy needs some rest here and there, but eventually maybe you need to trust Miguel Gutierrez from Castilla to do the job as Mendy's backup, because Marcelo has been a very worrying player this season. He's only 32, and he shouldn't be as big of a liability as he is right now. I can only hope that he regains some of his form and confidence, so that at least he's able to give Mendy some rest here and there. But if he doesn't, I think Madrid have probably reached a point where they just play maybe Miguel Gutierrez until they're able to buy Reguilon back next summer, because Marcelo is just, and even worse, the data backs it up. Just like every game Marcelo is starting, Real Madrid struggle and they end up dropping points. So it's just a matter of time before Zidane probably realizes this and either gives Marcelo more minutes so that he can regain his confidence, even though he may cost Real Madrid some points, or maybe Marcelo is just not built for this role of the bench, and maybe he just needs to stay on the bench and let Miguel Gutierrez take care of the job as a backup until Real Madrid can buy Reguilon back.
Do you want to dive into the ideal starting 11